Today is August 8th. Welcome on into Daily Cards Live here on ClaibsOnline.com, presented by Munganat St. Louis Acura and Royal Banks of Missouri. I'm Joe Roderick. Matt Rocchio in for Bob Ramsey today. Cardinals had the day off on Monday. Back at it tonight for 3 games against Tampa. And I don't know if you heard, Rock, but the Baltimore Orioles, they recently just had success in Tropicana Field, which they hadn't had in previous years. And now the Cardinals are down there to play a 3-game series.
I'm getting a text, Joe. Well, we've just been suspended by Peter Angelos.
Ah, man.
Not sure. I didn't know he had a stake in Claibs Online. Good for the big guy and getting that kind of money in here, but I wasn't aware. But yeah, apparently we're gonna take the axe as well. Also, unfortunately, we didn't have Orioles gear on either for the broadcast, despite only being on radio, and so the hammer just continues to come down.
I got White Sox stuff on today.
Okay.
I got white. Yeah, I'm not trying to get punched in the face or anything, but I'm supporting the White Sox T-shirt for today. As you go through, it's just kind of playing out the rest of the season. I know Rammer is real big into waiting for that August 19th, August 20th date to see if Mason Wynn gets called up, and the Cardinals are just going to keep chugging away and putting out the best lineup that they can each and every night. And it's frustrating on a day like today when Major League Baseball announced the postseason schedule, which usually means, oh, hey, that's when we probably will be playing, or hey, let's save the date for that. And now you kind of look at it and you go, oh, what college football games are going to be on that day? What's the NFL schedule look like for that first weekend in October? But as I've said to Rammer many times, it's about trying to watch entertaining baseball from here on out, and that's absolutely what we're going to get with the Rays on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. Rays a blast to watch. They've hit a little bit of a they kind of hit a little bit of a low for the season after starting off so incredible, but I mean, I'd still argue that they're the favorites, to represent the AL in the World Series just because of how well they're built. And it's going to be a fun roster. It'll be interesting to see later on this week with the potential matchup of Matthew Liberatore and Randy Arozarena. Obviously, Cardinals fans would love to see that happen, but overall, seeing a build like the Rays just fascinates me because not the money-wise, but I do just wonder if maybe the Cardinals' best case scenario is kind of just like a higher spending version of the Rays with a similar team building philosophy, except one where you can, touch 160 instead. And I just, especially when you talk about going into the pitching next year, and if you look at how Tampa Bay, obviously they drafted one of their guys, I think one or two of their guys, but the way they've acquired not just their pitching but a lot of their talent, I think maybe you can take that, place it with the Cardinals, and maybe look at it a similar build and how they maybe attack their pitching or their team building going forward. But again, with a payroll that isn't bottom of the league.
I just don't agree with that because the Tampa Bay Rays will never be an organization with their current ownership that would go out and trade for somebody like a Paul Goldschmidt or a Nolan Arenado. And
that's where the money changes. That's where the money changes the bill.
Yeah,
you can go get that $40 million, $35 million guy.
And I still think that this offseason they will sign a free agent, and I think they will trade some of their outfield surplus to get another starter. I think that's the route they're going to go, where the Rays can do that. The Rays could trade and bring in a pitcher, and maybe not a top-end veteran pitcher, but somebody that can be ready in a year or two, or a young guy that they can take a chance on. But the Rays are never going out and signing. The Rays will not be in the running for Aaron Nola this offseason.
No.
The Cardinals should be in the running for Aaron Nola this offseason. The Cardinals should kick the tires on a Blake Snell. The Rays traded away Blake Snell. I mean, those are two very different teams. I don't know if that's a model that the Cardinals will ever go for.
And again, it's the fact that you have a lot more money than they do. What if the Cardinals ceiling this offseason is Sonny Gray instead of Blake Snell or Aaron Nola? What if that's the top move?
I'm fine with that. I
Yeah.
I'm absolutely fine with that. Sonny Gray has proven many times over the last several years with a few different organizations that he can go out and be a quality starter year in and year out. He's going to get close to 200 innings this season. Last year with the Twins, I'm looking here, injury shortened to hit 119, but I mean he's a guy that's been around 130 to 170 now for the last few years between the Twins, the Reds, and the Yankees, and even that time the year in Oakland too. I think he's a guy that hasn't shown too much of a drop off from previous years. So I'd be fine with that as a number two or a number. I'm not. He's not going to be your number one, but if you put him behind Miles Michaelis in a rotation, or right there 2-3 with Miles Michaelis, and you go out and you actually get a number one starter, then yeah, I'm fine with that.
And that's kind of my thing. I really just wonder, like, 'cause when we talk about them getting two new pitchers and people talk about them getting number one, obviously Snell, Nola, those make sense. But I mean, I can't be the only one who just balks at the idea of putting a lot of confidence in the Cardinals giving somebody a 7-year, $225 million contract. I mean, just the idea of that, especially after the biggest contract ever by a non-Cardinal, signing in the offseason. Didn't go exactly too well, though. Contreras is, hitting the OPS the way he should be over the last month
Yep.
plus. But overall, the situation hasn't worked out as well as you thought. So I just wonder that dedication, if it's going to be that $30 million level. I think Sonny Gray. I mean, after his club option this year was just under $13 million. I don't think he's going to guarantee $30 million. So I just wonder what's the reaction like? What's the expectations for the Cardinals like if it is in fact a Sonny Gray paired with Michaelis as the top two, and maybe it's a better, number three than we expected, but still not somebody who really moves you off from having a Michaelis or a Michaelis level pitcher as potentially your first pitcher in a wild card round.
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned the Contreras. I saw the stat today. Second highest OPS since July 1st in all of baseball. So he has started to hit. He has started to do that. And you mentioned highest contract last offseason. They gave the highest contract to a non-Cardinal free agent pitcher that they ever did, and Steven Matz. And
That's true.
until July, it looked like that was a complete bust of a contract a year and a half into it. And now Steven Matz has performed as one of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball. So it's taken a while. And this year, the results of the record aren't what you want them to be. But looking at both of them, I don't know if we could call either one of them a bust at the moment. It's the season is a bust, but both of those players are, for the last 6 weeks, the last 5 weeks, have performed to what they were paid.
Yeah, and I think another thing, I was looking at the money yesterday, and by my math, the Cardinals are shedding about $40 million off the payroll, including the people they already traded. So if you expect, I just don't know how much I expect them to raise the payroll. They shed $40 million. Do we expect them to add $70 million in contracts in the offseason? I think that's a little unreasonable. Do we expect I just think there's how much more are they going to spend than they did this past year? Is spending going to go up? Mozeliak obviously hasn't said that. I think probably we're not going to get him making that kind of comment after he made it last year either. I just wonder the exact grade we're going to see the Cardinals jump. They're going to make a jump. They're going to make moves. I'm already just wondering if it's not that tier one move that everyone's already talking about out of the gate. What are we talking about if it is a tier if it's a collection of tier 2 and 3s, which has been the Cardinals' MO more than the big moves for the most part. You could argue, I guess, like you just did, that Goldschmidt and Arenado is kind of proves you that they'll make the big swing when it's available. Although you look at those guys, the control, the previous success. I don't know if a pitcher would equate to that level of player.
And currently, right now, with their payroll the way it is right now, I kind of look at that Adam Wainwright contract. I don't look at. I mean, it's weird.
Okay.
I don't look at that as part of like the payroll. I look at that as kind of a legacy deal. Like they would, that he's making what he is this year because he's Adam Wainwright, because it's his last year, because of what he's done. And I feel like if they stay where they are right now, with their payroll, I feel like that is an increase because I
So
feel like
okay. So you're saying
because
like
I feel
if they replace that, if they just replace the Wayno money, that's enough of a buy-in. Essentially,
yeah,
like
because
okay.
I just don't see that. Like I don't look at it and say, hey, they're spending X amount on payroll and that Adam Wainwright contract's coming up. I feel like that is a special deal. Like that is a different contract than what you will go into next year kind of looking to spend on something. I don't equate that to, they weren't going to go out and give 20 million to any other 41-year-old pitcher in baseball. So that's kind of what, or
That
that
that is
tier of a starter.
that is legitimately a comment that I think a lot of fans would be like shocked to like contemplate, because I think a lot of people have looked at that 17 million and been like, well, that we could have used that to go replace a not so great starting pitcher this season. And I think it's interesting that you're saying, well, no, you probably just would have been seeing a lot more Dakota Hudson
Yeah.
or a longer leash on Matthew Liberatore or Zach Thompson just getting a bigger chance from the get go. I think it's an interesting thing that I don't think I've really considered what would have happened if Wayno just would have retired, let's say, a year ago.
Yeah, it wasn't Adam Wainwright or Carlos Rodon. Like it was not one or the other this offseason. Like yeah, they didn't choose one over the other. Adam Wainwright said he was coming back, and they said okay. Like then they sat down and they figured out what a fair amount was to pay him for his final season after a career with the Cardinals. I don't think that money was ever allocated for another starting pitcher. So that's kind of how I look at that part of the deal. Hey, let's look at the lineups for tonight, brought to you by Bootleg and Tavern at 4501 Shoto. And they have happy hour going on right now and each and every day from 2 to 6. So still plenty of time to head on down to Bootleg and Tavern before, I guess, before the Cardinal game gets started at 5:40 Central Time today. 5:40 for the Cardinals tonight. It's Miles Michaelis against Zach Eflin in the game tonight. Lars Nootbaar leads off for the Cardinals. He is DHing. Paul Goldschmidt's at first. Nolan Gorman is at second. Nolan Arenado is at third. Wilson Contreras behind the plate. Tyler O'Neill in left. Jordan Walker in right. Dylan Carlson in center. And Tommy Edman at short. For the Rays, Yandy Diaz is at first. Wander Franco at short. Brandon Lowe at second. Randy Arozarena in left. Isaac Paredes is at third. Luke Raley is DHing. Jose Siri is in center. Josh Lowe is in right. And Christian Betancourt is behind the plate for the Tampa Bay Rays. 68-46 on the season. 22 games over 500 for those Rays, who come in second place in the AL East, behind the Orioles, who are now at 70 wins on the season. So that race in the AL East is going to be a lot of fun these last 2 months. So any chance you have to watch these good ball clubs, if you have the MLB package, I don't know if you're stopping and clicking on the Rays each and every night when you're going through, but like we said, it's going to be a fun team to watch, an exciting team to watch these next 3 nights.
I mean, I'm clicking on Yankees games just to see Aaron Boone, because the man puts on a show. I mean, you know what? If at any point you as a manager decide that I'm going to go from standing up to some kind of crouch, or as the one minor league coach did, down into your belly, if you're leaving just standing straight up and down at any point in a manager rant, it has moved on to a next level rant, and I'm here for it. So good job by Boone.
Game starts at 5:40 tonight. 5:40 is for Rays and Cardinals, and it is first of 3 before the Cardinals head to Kansas City. This has been another edition of Daily Cards Live, brought to you by Royal Banks and Munganat St. Louis Acura. Head online to stlouisacura.com before you head to 13720 Manchester and check out all of the cars they have on the lot. Over 300 of them, new and used, and you can see exactly what you are looking to buy before you go out there and kick the tires out at Munganess St. Louis Acura. He is Matt Rocchio, in for Bob Ramsey today. Rammer, I believe, returns tomorrow. I'm Joe Roderick. We will talk to you tomorrow right here on ClaibsOnline.com.
From our roots in St. Louis, Royal Banks of Missouri is branching out to continue serving you with our locations in St. Charles, Jerseyville, Granite City, and now in Hannibal, Center, and New London. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank in your community.